This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Now, this is the home stretch. This is the final ois of the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. And we are up to, in the Shabbos edition, ois Chaf Aleph, Chaf Beis, Chaf Gimel. Chaf Aleph, She'yizvada b'chol layla kodem she'yishan. You should confess every evening before you go to sleep. Malvad halela she'en asuris behesped of a tainus. Besides those nights that are prohibited, to eulogize, to fast. V'yisabel al avonos. You should mourn for your sin. V'al oirech galosenu, and the length of the exile. V'al churban beis mikdashenu, and the destruction of the temple. V'sefartenu, our glory, sheyibana b'mher v'yameinu. So the Rosh is teaching us every night before you go to sleep, you should confess. Besides the night that are usher, eulogize, and to fast. Rav Goldberg explains, this is talking about the expanded vidoy, the full vidoy. Ashamnu, baganu, gazalnu. But if somebody knows they did an avera, they have to confess immediately. Even on a day that you're not allowed to eulogize and fast, you certainly have to confess. But you should make it a habit. Even if you don't say the whole program of Kriya Shema Alamita. You know, many people who I've spoke to are not aware, before they go to sleep, one does not have to say the three parshas of Shema if somebody daven Mariv after Tzeis HaKochavim. Al Pi the Ari, okay, there's a Kabbalistic reason to say all three parshas, even if you already fulfill the mitzvah. But halachically, you're not required to. Halachically, before you go to sleep, you just say one parsha of Shema, and you should say Hamapil. Hamapil is a bracha. Many people are not aware that they need to say Hamapil before they go to sleep. But besides that, one should confess their averos, and mourn their avonos. Why mourn? Because when a person sins, he lost Chaim, because at the time he's sinning, he's like a mess. But I would say, not only at the time one's sinning, they're like a mess, but the Avera brought a person into a state of Misa, and therefore requires mourning. And the Rosh says, be misabel on one's Averos, and on the length of the Galus, and on the destruction of the temple. May it be built speedily in our times. The Gemara Bracha says on Daf Gimel that Rabbi Yossi went into a churba and he heard a bas kol that was moaning like a dove, and it said, "Woe to the children that because of their sins I had to destroy the Beis Hamikdash." And the Beis Hamikdash requires worry and concern and anxiety and mourning. Ois Chaf Beis. One should fast at least once every 30 days. It should be on a day that you read the Torah, Monday and Thursday. If you're not able to fast, you should give 2 coins for tzedakah. So what is this idea you should fast once every 30 days? Well, Tishrei, we're good. We have Yom Kippur and Tzom Gedalia. Cheshvan, we're out. Kislev, we don't have. Teves, we're good. Shvat, we're out. Adar, we have. Erev Pesach, we fast, but we redeem it with a tainus. Iyar, we don't. Sivan, we don't. Tammuz, we do. Av, we do. So this comes from the Sefer Hasidum. There's a story about a Chacham in Siman Sadi Zayin he brings, who commanded his son not to let 30 days pass without fasting. The Pri Chadar says, there are Anshe Maisa that they were noig to fast every Erev Rosh Chodesh because of the Miyud Hayareach, and the Maram Cordovero would call it Yom Kippur Katan, because on that day it's Niskaper, the Averos of the whole month. And the Beis Yosef brings it in Siman Tafresh Gimel, name of the Orchos Chaim, that Tol Doisam refers to the months, and therefore Rosh Chodesh is a Zman of Kapara. One should try to fast at least once a month. And if you can't fast, you should redeem it with 2 pshutim. Mishnah Berurah writes in Siman Taf Yud Zayin that the Sfarim tell us that even someone who doesn't fast, he should try to do tshuva on Erev Rosh Chodesh and correct his misdeeds on the last day of the month, like Erev Rosh Hashanah. You could be mechaper for the whole month. Now, what does the Rosh mean? You should give 2 coins. What exactly is the significance of 2 coins? So Chaim Kanievsky says the shiur of 2 coins is the food for 1 day. So back in the day, 2 coins was a day's worth of food. Nowadays, I don't know, breakfast costs, I don't know, $10, lunch is $10, supper is $25, I don't know. Maybe you have to give $50. Let's conclude with the final offering of the Rosh. And probably the best thing for us to do is do what we usually do, an executive summary. And maybe we'll do like, there's 7 days, so we'll spend, 2 weeks and a day. Might be a good idea. Anyway, we're up to Ois Chav Gimel, the final stretch on the Rosh. I don't know, could we make a siyum? Are you allowed to make a siyum? Maybe we'll rent out Madison Square Garden for the siyum on the Rosh. Just joking. Okay, Sivkat and Chav Gimel. Sheyikayim b'hatznea, you should fulfill humbly, modestly, in a hidden way, l'chalkel ma'asav hatovim, to sustain your good deeds. Try to fulfill your good deeds in a way that nobody knows about it. Kihu avodas Hashem yisbarach hanevcheres. That is the choicest way to serve God. B'haratsuya lefanav, and that is what is needed the most. So, in the final statement of the Rosh emphasizes the importance of hiding your good deeds. There's an incredible Yushalmi. If you came to all this shiurim on the Orchos and Rosh just to hear this story, it was Kedai. The Yushalmi in Tainis Parak Aleph Halacha Daled brings a story about a guy by the name of Pintik Kaka. Don't say, oh, I know that guy. No, he's a guy in the Yushalmi. You don't know a guy, Pintik Kaka. And he was a well-known sinner. His name means 5 sins. And his job was to guard the house of prostitution. So you can imagine what kind of good tzaddik he was. If he guarded a house of prostitution, I mean, you could imagine he probably brought his phone into the Beis HaKnesses and other good practices if he had this distinction of guarding the house of prostitution. And it was a famine. And Rabbi Avohu was shown in a dream that this guy, Pintik Kaka, he could daven for the rain and bring the rain, and he did. Pintik Kaka davened for the rain, and it rained. So Rabbi Avohu wanted to know, what's this guy all about? He said, what do you do for a living? He said, what do? I do 5 sins every day. I rent out prostitutes. I prepare the theater for their prostitution. I wash their clothing so they have good clothing to do their sin. I dance before them, and I play music for them. So basically, I'm the guy that gets all the prostitution going. So Ravo said, that's not what I had in mind. What else do you do? Do you do anything good? One time I was getting the stadium ready, and a woman came, and she started crying. And I said, what's going on? And she said, my husband is captured, and I want to redeem him. So I came to rent myself out to get money to redeem my husband. So this Pintik Kaka said, I sold my bed and my sheet, I gave her the money, and I said, go redeem your husband and don't sin. Said Rabbi Avo, Taka, you're a big tzaddik and you're worthy to daven for the rain. Says the Michtam Elio, Chela Gimel, page 116. This guy must have been a tzaddik. He was really a tzaddik. And when Rabbi Avo asked him what he did, he answered right away. Ravo asked, what do you do for a living? So he said, I'm a Baal Aveira. He once did a very big mitzvah. It didn't even dawn on him. It didn't occur to him. It didn't occur to him. So his good deeds were hidden, not only from the world, but from him. he didn't walk around carrying, I've been a big tzaddik, I did this good maisa. Actually, the Rabbi Avo, the Mefarshim said, you are worthy to daven for rain, because this shows all your acts were l'shem shamayim, so that you shouldn't sin, so that Benois Yisrael should not sin. So Rabbi Nachman says, from here we see that this guy's intention was that he would get the prostitution going for Goyim, so that if a Jew ever came there, he would figure out an eitzah how to save them. So that means not only that time that he saved that Jew from prostitution did he do a good deed, but everything he did was really a Maisa Toiv. But he did it so hidden that he didn't carry it with him. He didn't walk around thinking, Ich bin a tzaddik nistar, I'm a gadol hadar, look what I did. His good deeds were hidden even from him. The story goes that... What?
So we shouldn't try it at home.
No, don't try. Definitely don't try the Beis Zoinos at home. But, you mean that particular profession? No, better to avoid that job. You could sell used cars, or life insurance, or anything else. But the story goes, it's printed in the Dvar Eliyahu, that one of the Talmidim of the Gra once came to him, and the Gra turned to him and he said in jealousy, why were you Zoicha? So Rav Moshe, the person who visited him, said, Zoicha for what? He said, you were Zoicha to hide your good deeds from man, that nobody talks about you. But I was not Zoicha to hide my good deeds. The Gra says, people talk about me. And Rav Itzla Petterberg brings that Rav Naftali Amsterdam would say about Rabbi Yosef Zundel of Salant, and how much effort Rabbi Yosef Zundel put in, that people should not see from the outside as if he's anything special or a tzaddik. And let's end off with this story. They once came to Rabbi Yisrael Salanter that they recognized that there was a wood shopper, and he was secretly wearing tefillin all day and learning under his breath, and people wanted to converse with him and find out about him, and they came to Rabbi Yisrael, what should they do? And Rabbi Yisrael said like this, you should know, Bizman Hazeh, no one has the right to be a tzaddik nistar. The generation is too weak. We cannot afford ourselves the luxury of going into seclusion and nobody knowing about our righteousness. However, says Rabbi Yisrael, this person chose to do that, chas v'shalom, to uncover, chas v'shalom, to talk to him and uncover his righteousness. Because right now, at least, he thinks he's serving Hashem secretly and nobody knows about it. The moment you spoil it, and the moment he thinks he's a meforsam, then his avodah will be shaloi lishma, and he will no longer serve Hashem in that high manner. So that concludes the comments of the Rosh on the Yom HaShabbos. Tam v'nishlam shevach lakel borei olam. So the plan is, we'll try to do the next 7 sessions, b'li neder, to review that day, just very, very briefly, just to be able to reinforce some of the main ideas of the Rosh, and then Be'ez Hashem, we'll figure out what Sefer will be next. We'll probably start either the week before Rosh Hashanah or right after Rosh Hashanah, B'siyata D'Shmaya. Wishing everyone a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Please join us tonight at 8:30 for an amazing shiur on the dream of the smag. Rav Moshe of Kusi. Have a good night, everyone. Kol Tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.